Good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us again for our bi-weekly guided meditation and Dharma talk on Monday evenings here in the Central Time Zone at 6 p.m. That's what time it is now, 6 p.m. Today is June 10th, 2024, and we're at the Blue Lotus Meditation and Mindfulness Center here in Central Minnesota, in Brainerd, Minnesota. And I'm Vladimir. I'm the founder of our center, and I'm pleased to welcome you again to our guided meditation and Dharma talk. And tonight's talk is, where is spirituality in mindfulness? But before we get on with our Dharma talk, just some wonderful announcements, just reminders that we have our weekly Sanghas, our Healing Sangha and our Veteran Sangha, the New Beginning Sangha, a Rainbow Sangha, a Welcoming, and a Teen Sangha, all throughout the week. And they are virtual offerings that you can simply register for free, just so I know who's in attendance, so we can keep our mindful records of who's around, and so we can continue offering wonderful support for people looking for those additional supports. And we also have our sutra studies on Tuesday evenings as well. So free registration, just follow the registration links, at the bottom of our website. We have a wonderful upcoming retreat this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a refuge retreat right at our center. Again, that's a free offering as well for victims of domestic violence, a place where we can get away from any stressful or unsafe conditions, and we can learn the Dharma, how it can help us navigate and connect with ourselves and others in those trying and difficult times, so we can find support and help you nurture your well-being in those instances. So we'll begin with our 3 jewels. That's how we begin our guided meditations and our sessions, and how we conclude them as well. So paying homage to the Buddha, to the Dharma, his teachings, and to you, the Sangha. And so I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. It's important to pay homage in that sense, to join us in those instances, and to support ourselves and pay homage to the Buddha, to his teachings, and to you, right, the Sangha. It's so very important. So tonight's guided meditation is a clear brook meditation. It'll help us just recenter and focus on the calming balances that we all need in these, certainly challenging times and so forth. So go ahead and allow yourself to get into a comfortable position. You may close, keep them slightly open with a soft focus, looking in front of you if you choose to. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And while you sit there, you are warmly invited to allow that half smile to just rest on your face as well. Allow your spine to lift and your shoulders to soften. And soften your belly as you continue settling in. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And let's meditate on clearing our mind like a peaceful forest brook. Imagine yourself walking in a peaceful forest. The trees are tall and lush with vegetation. The birds are singing, and the little woodland creatures are scurrying about. The air is clean and refreshing and nurturing. And the sky is a calming, crisp shade of blue. And as you walk along an even, gentle trail, you can hear in the distance the soft babbling of a brook. You know that with each step you take, you are getting closer and closer to this brook. So there is no need to rush this journey. Wonderful, mindful moments pass with each step, and you finally arrive at the brook's bank. To the right, you see an inviting spot under a shady tree to sit. You sit and begin to notice how clear the water is in this peaceful forest setting. The water is so clear and pure looking. You can see small fish swimming in the multicolored gravel at the bottom, and even an occasional twig or leaf float on by very gently. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. In the distance, to your right and upstream, there's the cracking sound of a tree branch, and then the sound of the splashing into this brook. You invite curiosity and wonder. What could have caused this branch to break? Perhaps it was dead and finally gave way. And as you sit and examine with curiosity a possible reason for this fall, you notice that the water has become cloudy and less clear with each moment. Moments pass until the water is so murky that you can no longer see the bottom clearly. You continue to watch the water flow with patience and calmness. And as the moments continue to pass, the water becomes clearer. And enough time has passed that the water is eventually clear, just as it was when you first came to sit down. Our mind is like the clarity of this water. When you experience some outside agitation, your mind may become cloudy and murky too. And this experience may be something too joyful or too discomforting. Whatever the experience is, it makes it hard to see with clarity. And to return to clarity, we only need to have patience with ourselves. The agitation will pass. Clarity of mind and thought will return. Go ahead and open your eyes and adjust your position if you need to before you move around. Very nice. Yeah, our minds can become very cloudy at times when there's some type of an outside agitation, whether it's good or bad, right? Or advantageous or disadvantageous. We can sometimes just get caught up in that heat of the moment. And sometimes that can affect um, our judgment and our actions. And we can tie that into this evening's Dharma talk on where is the spirituality in mindfulness. But first, why don't we consider what spirituality is? And I guess it's a pretty lengthy definition of what we may consider or what the dictionary considers spirituality, but it involving uh, exploring certain universal themes: love, compassion, altruism, life after death, wisdom, and truth, with the knowledge that some people, such as saints or enlightened individuals, have achieved and manifested higher levels of development than the ordinary person. Almost, probably all of them actually are all of those conditions, all of those qualities we find in mindfulness to some degree. And remember, right mindfulness or mindfulness itself is only one of those steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. But and all throughout Buddhism, reincarnation, right? So life after death. But certainly love, loving kindness, compassion, and empathy are all present. And they're present in very many religions, not just in Buddhism and mindfulness, right? Love and compassion is a universal theme that is talked about, right? That is something that is nurtured. And our actions, whether we may think of them as being mindful or not, can have some form of spirituality incorporated in them. And so mindfulness and spirituality can go in hand in hand. And not just in Buddhism, but in Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Shinto, all Jainism, all religions involve developing and nurturing love, compassion, and empathy. And so we don't have to be any one particular. We can be a multitude and be spiritual. And so mindfulness, when we think of what being mindful is, right? It's awareness, right? Awareness of not just ourselves, but of the moment, of where we are in this particular time, right? I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I'm feeling a cool breeze as the gentle breeze blows by, or I am feeling the warmth of these lights around me, right? That's awareness, right? Also awareness of how somebody else may be feeling, right? Are they sad? Are they confused? Are they unhappy? Those are awareness as well, not just with ourselves. The environment, right? Do we have a environment that needs to be cleaned up? And not just the global environment, maybe the bedroom, maybe the living room, maybe the car that you're driving in, right? Maybe you've got a soda can that rolls around it. Oh, I'll get that later, right? That's the environment as well. So the awareness of where we are at that particular moment. Mindfulness is also acceptance, and remembering that acceptance isn't condoning, right? Especially if it's a negative behavior or a hurtful behavior or a situation that is not advantageous to our own well-being. Acceptance is just merely this event has happened, right? Not denying it, not sweeping it under the rug, just acknowledging it. And that's all acceptance is. We may choose to give it the quality of good or bad, but at the very least, just accepting that whatever the event is, it has occurred. And that's part of the awareness, right? Part of the awareness. And non-judgmental, right? Sometimes we imply or infer another quality or a condition on a topic or a person. This is good, this is bad. But I would think about a time where you thought something, an event happened, somebody said something, whatever it is, any event that you decide that you thought it was a good outcome, right? And then maybe a few days later, a week later, 2 days later, a month later, whatever it is, turned out to be not so helpful, not so good for you. We can think of the other one around. We can flip it around. Think of something that maybe we thought was good for us, or was bad for us, and it eventually turned out to be not so good for us. Not judging other people's actions. We don't know what they're going through. Sometimes we see um, people suffering on videos, right, without understanding the context, and we make a judgment on them. Maybe you're in the store and you come across, someone who is, you know, suffering to some degree and making it well known to others. We don't know their experience. We don't know what they're going through. Maybe the way somebody dresses. Right? That's one of the first things that we see. We judge people how they dress and not the content of that person. So mindfulness is also being non-judgmental and compassionate, right? Being generous, helping others, compassion, right? With passion. That's what the means. We can understand. We want to help. We want to do something to help somebody else, to ease their suffering. That's part of the spirituality, the altruism, right? That was one of the words that they used in that definition, right? With compassion, there's altruism. Maybe you're helping in some way. And that's part of being mindful. And so a lot of the qualities of mindfulness overlap and are well incorporated in spirituality. So they're not mutually exclusive. They bond together. They form together. And so there is that wonderful connection, right? The connection between spirituality and mindfulness. And thinking that, when we do come across someone who is suffering, or even if they're not, just the person walking down the street as we may see them, knowing that all living beings share the same basic elements. What's inside of me is inside of you. What's inside of you and me is inside of someone else. It's inside of cats and dogs and birds and elephants and penguins and hippos. All of those same qualities that are inside of us, those basic elements, are in all the life forms on our planet. And probably just as well all spread out through the universe. And so when we realize that what's inside of me is inside of you, and what's inside of you is inside somebody else, we begin to understand that we are no different than somebody else. We all have the same emotions, wanting to be loved, accepted, nurtured, cared for, security, so forth. We all have the same physical and biological needs. We need to eat, to drink, to relieve ourselves. We feel pain if we get a toothache or if we get a cut. And so what is oftentimes highlighted are divisions between people. But if we remove all those superficial exterior qualities, the way somebody dresses, the color of their skin, the shape of their eyes, the makeup, whatever physical attributes maybe somebody has, those divisions are illusionary. All of the divisions that we see have been imposed upon us because we're all the same. We all have the same basic elements. We all have the same needs and wants, the same emotions again. And so those divisions are separating us, and they don't allow that spirituality to grow. And those divisions that separate us are actually very wonderful qualities. The diversity of living beings on our planet is very spiritual. And when we approach it with mindful awareness, we can embrace it with openness, with acceptance, with non-judgmental awareness, with compassion. So instead of arguing about unnecessary divisions, we celebrate them. And that's what it means to have the spirituality and the mindfulness connected. We're all a part of the same elements. We all have the same qualities. And so those are what we celebrate. And so spirituality is within us. It's not something exterior. It's the loving kindness. It's in what we do. How we think about somebody else. How we think about ourselves. How we treat others and the world around us with reverence. That is the overlap with spirituality and mindfulness. And when we look at the world as a more unified group of living beings, those differences, they're not scary. Not at all. So something to think about. Something to nurture in ourselves. And when we nurture the spirituality and mindfulness within us, we grow. So our next talk, thank you for joining us this wonderful evening. And our next talk will be on the 24th, June 24th. And we'll talk about the Buddha's dreams, right? And maybe a little bit about interpreting dreams, or what do dreams mean? There's different types, right? So we'll delve into that a little bit, but mostly it'll be about the Buddha's dreams upon his enlightenment. And then we'll end with our three jewels. Okay. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Sathu, Sathu, Sathu. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Many blessings to you. And if you have comments, please put them in below. And I'm always delighted to connect with you all and help support you on your mindfulness practice as well. And so, till next time, many blessings to you all.